we've got along like a house on fire, which, you hate to say about the Poms, but...
yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but he's a ripper. We've spent a lot of time together. Nitin Sharma, I'm actually not sure what he does. He's massaging people every night, but he tells me he's team manager, so I'm not really sure where that stands. Whatever he does, he's vitally important to this group. He's a beautiful man. He's very funny. I'd say there's a fair language barrier between him and I. He knows about 10 words of English, and I know about 3 words of Hindi, but we get along.
What are those 3 words you've picked up?
There's a few more than 3, but a few bad ones, actually.
Yeah, but, we don't say those things.
No, we don't. No, unfortunately not. I just read them on a few guys' lips on the TV.
Yeah. It's a new season of the Indian Premier League and also a brand new season 3 of the Delhi Capitals podcast. I'm your host, Suprita Das, and joining us on the podcast today is none other than the Bison, Mitchell Marsh. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to start with that. How many times have you been asked, why is your nickname Bison?
A few now. It's a bit of an odd nickname, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm just going to add like one more time to that list.
Yeah.
What's the story?
Very early on in my career, I had an Australia A tour to Zimbabwe, and Jason Gillespie was the assistant coach. And it was thought that when I was young, and especially when I started playing cricket, that I had a really big head. I don't see it, to be honest, but apparently on average a bison has a 200 kilo head. So
did you Google that?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what Jason Gillespie told me at the time. So as all nicknames start, I didn't like the nickname Bison, and it stuck. So the last 10 years I've got used to it. I actually don't mind it now, so just refer to me as Bison.
Mitch is fine with us. We'll go with that. But tell me, we're in the middle of the IPL. You, though, made a quick dash home to get married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then ran back to play for the Delhi Capitals. This is not how you may have planned it out.
No, it was certainly not. Purely from a cricket point of view, it wasn't ideal to miss 2 games. We initially sort of booked that weekend in thinking that the IPL would start at its normal time, anywhere sort of around the 5th or 6th of April, and I would potentially just miss the first couple of days.
Yeah.
With the international schedule being so packed, it's really hard to book in these dates. And it's a special date. I love cricket. Cricket's my life, but these sorts of things are really important to me, my family, my now wife, and nothing's more important to me than that. So we sort of booked that date in. As it turned out, the IPL started a week earlier than what it normally does, and it was just too late to do it. So obviously we have amazing owners, an amazing coaching staff who are very understanding of the situation, and to only miss 2 games. I must admit, on my wedding day, I was thinking about us playing that night.
Really?
At one point in time, because we had a loss, so it was disappointing. But I got back, and it was a whirlwind week to get home, but an incredible week at home.
You came back with the bling bling.
The bling bling.
Nice. Mitch, we'll start a little bit from the start. You grew up in a home with cricketing heritage, if I can call it so.
Yep.
But not a lot is spoken about your sister,
yes,
Melissa, who is also a very accomplished professional sports person. Why don't we hear more about her?
It's a very good question. And it's a question she often asks as well. She's like, hey, here I am.
Yeah.
She had an amazing career, 250 plus games
Basketball
in the WNBL, which is the national league in Australia.
Yeah.
I guess back in her era, if you think about where women's sport is now compared to where it was when she played, it's come a long way, and they certainly didn't get the recognition that they deserved back then. So she was one of those, unfortunately. But you look back now, and I kind of see her, certainly in basketball in Western Australia, as a bit of a pioneer to forge a pathway for young girls to make a name for themselves. And I think where women's sport is now and where it's hopefully trending, it's amazing. So she had an incredible career. It's something that as a family we're very proud of. She's definitely the hardest working in the family.
I was just going to ask, so in the pecking order, because there are so many athletes in the family, who is where? Where are you?
I think I'm last. And I've accepted that. So I think it goes Dad, 50 tests. I think Sean and Melissa. Sean's probably the most skilled, most talented. Melissa the most hardworking, and then me just going for the ride.
Okay, no, but when you were growing up, with your siblings, playing cricket at home, which of the siblings would go up running to mum complaining about the other, or they're not letting me bat, or I wasn't out, and
me,
go
always
crying
me.
to mum.
Sean and I would have a lot of backyard battles, but he was 8 years older than me, so I would often bowl to him for as long as he felt like batting, and then it was game over. I often say that I've got him to thank for me being an all-rounder because I bowled growing up. And then I'd go and complain to mum that I didn't get a bat, and Sean would give me a bat for 5 minutes, and then that was it. So, and whilst we were doing that, Melissa was playing basketball next to us. So, pretty amazing childhood.
Yeah, and I'd imagine a large part of your childhood was spent growing up in dressing rooms, the Australian dressing room. I think it would be the time when someone like a Shane Warne or Steve Warne, Mark Warne were playing at that. What was that like? Yeah,
I look back now. It was an incredible time of my life. Dad was, once I got to the age where I can remember, Dad was coaching Australia, a team full of some incredible cricketers and people. Steve Warne, Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath, Dizzy Gillespie, Gilly. I mean, all these guys that were all of my heroes, but probably not until I was a little bit older. As a kid, you're just a kid. I didn't see them as anyone. I just thought they were people that my dad coached.
Correct.
But yeah, incredible time, and I spent so much time. He coached Zimbabwe. I spent a lot of time around. I think there's some awesome footage of me in the 2002-3 World Cup, running around one of the ovals in South Africa with a big Zimbabwean flag, fully kitted in Zimbabwe kit. So, I supported wherever Dad was, and very, very lucky for the childhood and for the memories that were created.
Any of those memories that kind of like stuck around with you, with a Warne or a Steve Warne?
I remember one day I had Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne bowling to me in the nets with a big crowd at the SCG nets. You get people that can stand behind the nets, and there I was as a young kid having them bowl to me in the nets, and I felt like it was amazing, incredible experience, and just those things that probably as a kid you take for granted because it just felt like the norm for me. I didn't see them as big heroes to me at a young age, but yeah, they were incredible memories for me, and very lucky.
Growing up around cricketers, cricket, dressing rooms and tours, was cricket always the only option for you when you grow up?
It was always a big part of my life, my parents were the opposite of pushy. They didn't care what I did. The only sport I wasn't allowed to play was rugby because Mum thought that I would get hurt, which is fair enough. I'm pretty soft. But it was just cricket in the summer, Australian rules football in the winter. And I grew to be quite tall, so I faked my way into a lot of football teams. But really, once I got to about 15 or 16, deep down I sort of knew that cricket was something that I wanted to pursue. And, even then it was still just a game and something that I really enjoyed. So it all happened pretty quick for me at a young age, but it was definitely always in my heart to follow my dreams in cricket.
And there's a lot of the junior cricket that you played and then came through, and then the baggy green happened, which is of course very special. What did Dad tell you? Do you remember, or what the debut was like?
Yeah, it was test debuts in Dubai, and there was about 40 people in the crowd. No fans in Dubai, unfortunately, at that stage for a test match against Pakistan. I think about 30 of them were Marshes and my friends, so I had a big, a big percentage of the crowd.
All your cheerleaders.
Yeah, all my cheerleaders. A few of my mates, not sure they watched much cricket. They were out in the town all night, every night. But yeah, Dad obviously presented me my cap. Very extremely special moment. Hard to sort of explain the emotions that were felt. Just one, you're receiving a bag of green, but two, to have your dad do that for you, it's very special. I actually don't remember a lot of what he said. I think other people probably remember more than what I do, but the one thing he did say was, in our house growing up, we had a sort of big bar area, and Dad had memorabilia all over the walls.
Yeah.
And not necessarily his own, just from all this team success and people that had signed stuff. And his bag of green was always up on the wall. So Dad, in his sort of speech, sort of said, you know, I've always had my bag of green up on the wall, and my dream's always to have yours next to mine. So that was one of the things he said, and he goes, "This is your cap now."
Oh, wow.
I look forward to putting it up on the wall at some stage, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. A few tears shed. Down go the sunnies, and you get your bag of green, and it was a
you go.
very special moment.
Wow. Not a lot of professional athletes have this experience, like, you know, your own blood, right? Being so close to your career. And that's fairy tale stuff in some sense. And of course, you've had your moments on the cricket field as your career progressed, having spent with Sean. And I remember, of course, very clearly the hundreds by the Marsh Brothers in
Yep.
Sydney. We know what happened. We saw on TV what happened when your 100 was going to happen. I want to know, were you going to go for a hug or a high five? What happened?
Yeah, it was a crazy moment. I obviously knew that it wasn't going for 4.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Sean did. I was sort of coming in for the high five. Sean came in for the hug. And then it was just sheer panic to get back in my crease and for him to get back in his crease.
Yeah.
And then you obviously saw Steve Smith.
I was going to come to
His
that.
carry
He was
on.
like, what is going on?
So we had that sort of moment, and it was just, as they used to say in the Australian dressing room, sometimes Marsh-like behaviour. So there was a lot of love in that moment, and wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, that one stands out for sure. Mitch, through your career though, and of course we'll come to the T20 World Cup, which was beautiful, playing that knock in the final. There of course have been moments, as is the case in any sports person's life. There are ups and downs. There are moments which aren't always happy or good, and that sort of tests how strong you are really as a human being, not just a sports person. How do you deal with moments like that when the going's not so great?
I think as a cricketer, you have a lot of those times where you can get a bit flat. Certainly as a batsman, you fail a lot more than you succeed as a batsman, and that's just facts. And the stats suggest that the best players in the world perform on average 1 in 3 to 4 innings, and that's the absolute best. That's the Steve Smith, the Virat Kohli, the AB de Villiers. So ultimately, as a batsman, if you don't learn to deal with failure, cricket can become a very hard game. So I think throughout my younger years, certainly in Test match cricket, which has provided me my biggest challenge as a cricketer and as a batsman, every failure to me was like the end of the world. So it was, at times very hard to deal with. You can be very hard on yourself, but
Were you hard on yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at times when you fail on the field, that warrants people to have opinions about your spot in the side, you as a cricketer, sometimes you as a person, which, at the top level you've got to expect. And I think as a younger cricketer, I didn't really handle that the best that I possibly could. And I've spoken about it multiple times, but probably got to a point where I had to ask myself a few questions about how I sort of wanted to deal with that sort of stuff. Did I want to let cricket sort of dictate who I am as a person?
Yeah.
My results will always dictate who I am as a cricketer, but they shouldn't dictate me as a person, as a human being.
Yeah.
And I can still be happy outside of the game of cricket if cricket's not going well. And I think that attitude, it took me a lot of failures to get there, it took me a lot of learning to get there. And I guess that sort of mentality now has helped me have, a very consistent 3 years of cricket, both away from the game and in the game. So that sort of mentality, letting go of, I guess, the fear of failure and just going out there to compete, has really changed the way I play the game. I've started enjoying the game a lot more over the last couple of years. And don't get me wrong, I've still enjoyed the game my whole career. I've enjoyed being tested and playing against the best players in the world, and even to a point now where at times you enjoy your failures. You've got to use them as learnings and ways to get better, and I think the best players always do that. So, yeah, it's been a fair journey, but one that I wouldn't change.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I wanted to ask, did you did you work with a mental health expert to be able to change this mindset and being okay with failure? Because modern day sport is so harsh, right? It's so brutal, and a lot of the time, the behind the scenes work, all the hard work that goes on, doesn't get noticed because you're only judged on whether you're winning a match or losing it.
Yep. Yeah, there's been a lot of people that I've worked with over the journey, family, friends, my now wife. We had a couple of beautiful sports psychs in Michael Lloyd and Matthew Bergen.
Okay.
Lloydie was with the Australian team. Matthew Bergen was with the West Australian cricket team. And those two guys have no doubt had massive impacts on my career, on my life as well. Matty Bergen, for example, was huge on getting me to detach myself from the outcome of a game of cricket. Focus on my preparation, tick every box before a game, and just focus on going out there and competing. And I guess you go back a step there, and often as a cricketer and as a batsman, you want to go out there and make runs. And every batsman walks out there wanting to make 100, but without a sound process, without proper routines, pre-ball routines, all that sort of stuff, and sticking to a process, you can't actually get to the end goal. So, I sort of took it all back and just, detached myself from the outcome, came up with really good routines, processes that I knew would work for me mentally and in the nets, and that was my sole focus. And they've changed over the last couple of years, but I know that there's a lot of things that do work for me, and I know that my method works now mentally, and it's about coming back to that every game, every ball.
Yeah.
And it's been a good journey.
Yeah, and like you said, the cricket makes you happy, and that's great. But that's not all what life is about.
Correct. There is a lot more.
Work-life balance.
Work-life balance. Yeah, there's not a lot of work-life balance as an international cricketer.
That's true, yeah.
But, it's good.
Yeah, and there's so much of travel involved, right? As an international cricketer, I do know, though, whenever you're traveling, at least here in India, you also do take the time out to look for a nice cafe somewhere around, or a
Always.
restaurant.
Coffee.
Yeah. Are you the coffee and food and beverage expert of the team?
Oh, I'm the general manager of food and beverage, yeah. Yeah.
FNB General Manager.
Yeah, but
Okay.
India's a little tough for that. I don't really know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And really good coffee, no offence, can be hard to find. So I haven't found anywhere in Delhi yet. So if anyone listens to this over the next 3 weeks and they've got some suggestions for the best cafes for me to get to, just hit me up.
Yep.
One of the great parts about playing international cricket, playing in tournaments like the IPL, is travelling the world, seeing different places.
Yeah.
New experiences, new food, new people. It's amazing.
Yeah. Getting back to the cricket now, the T20 World Cup in 2021, a lot of people said that was Mitch Marsh 2.0, the way you played your cricket. And everything sort of built up in a way to the knock that you played in that final of 77 runs. How did that build up for you as a person and as a cricketer? Purely, by the way you were playing your shots, hitting the ball out of the park literally from the word go.
Yeah, it was an incredible night. There was a lot that went into that final, a lot in the background. I've mentioned it a few times that 6 months before that World Cup final, I had a really good chat with our now coach, Andrew McDonald. He spoke to me about becoming a player who can go from ball one, and he literally meant hitting first ball for six.
Oh, okay.
And that was quite foreign to me, as I've always been someone who felt like I could catch up at the back end. But I think, the best players in the world have that ability to go from ball one. So I went away and trained that for a couple of months before our tour to the West Indies in June.
To hit the ball from the word
First
go.
ball. First ball every session. I'd try and hit the first ball for six, within reason, obviously. I trained it, I visualised it, and we went to the West Indies in June, July of that year, and I had a really good series against the West Indies that built confidence in what I was trying to do. And I guess in the World Cup, I didn't walk out to bat going, I'm hitting this first ball for six. That kind of just happened with...
No, you manifested it. Just admit it.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Okay.
But I had a lot of confidence. I felt very trusted by the group that we had, by our coaching staff and by the playing group. And that sort of trust allows you to play quite freely. And it was an indifferent World Cup for me. I started, I was left out for a game, which outside of our little bubble was made into this really big deal.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. And I can honestly say that we had a beautiful squad that was about squad mentality, and I understood that for that game I was missing out, but I knew that I was a chance to come back in, so I didn't let it deter me or didn't want to be that guy who was sort of bringing the team down.
Yeah.
Kept my head up, and I got back in, and I built a bit of confidence leading into that final. And I guess got to the final, and it was an incredible few hours. I mean, to say that, I've won a World Cup and being an integral part in the final is something that I'll always cherish.
Would you say it was the greatest moment of your cricketing career so far? You'd won another World Cup as well.
Yeah, I was 12th man in 2015, so that doesn't count. And the under-19s, I can't claim that, you know. But
this one was
the T20 World Cup is by far the best moment of my career, the most fulfilling. It was just incredible.
Speaking of T20 cricket, there's so much of it played around the world. Everyone's playing league cricket through the year, which is actually keeping a lot of people, busier than the international calendar. Your thoughts on how it has affected the dynamics of cricket?
Oh, I think it's been amazing for the game. I think the opportunities that are arising for a lot of people around the world is incredible, and really, I wish I was 10 years younger.
Yeah.
There you go. I think what's about to happen with world cricket is going to be amazing. There's no doubt that the landscape's changing rapidly, and the purists will say that certain formats might die, but the opportunities that are arising for a lot of people is incredible, and hopefully I can hold on for a bit longer and be a part of it all.
Yeah. Well, you're part of one here. It's your second year here. What's the Delhi Capitals journey been like? We all talk about DC being a family and everyone being an integral and important part of that family. What's it been like 2 years? Of course, a lot of familiar faces for you from Australia the moment you walked in. But what's it been like?
Oh, it's been awesome. Having played for the Scorchers back home for 12 years, we've had a lot of success as a team.
Yeah.
And we often talk about the Scorchers family, and it's real. It's something that you feel a part of. And I played for a few different IPL teams.
Yeah.
And at times I've always had international cricket at the forefront of my mind, so that's always come first to me. So I've never really felt a part of other teams in the IPL. Great people and amazing franchises, but this Delhi team's been the first team where I've really felt like it's been a bit of a home for me, and it's not just the 11 players that we see running out in the field every game. It's everyone in the background, all of our support staff. It genuinely is a family, and there's a lot of care from our owners down to everyone. So it's an incredible franchise, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. I think it's not just the 2 months. I think, the best way I can describe it is it's not just the 2 months that you hear that you're a Delhi Capital. People are in contact, people are reaching out for 12 months of the year. From the last game we played last year to the first game this year, you're always in contact with people, and I think that's a testament to how this franchise is run, and it's something that I certainly want to be a part of for hopefully a long time to come.
We hope so too. And of course, as is typical with franchise cricket, every year there are some faces that are new and some walk into other franchises. Among the guys you've met and played and hung around with last year and this year as well, who has been a surprise package for you? And we can go beyond like the playing group.
That's a great question. Well, I have to start with Salty.
Yeah.
We've got along like a house on fire, which, you hate to say about the Poms, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but he's a ripper. We spent a lot of time together. Nitin Sharma, I'm actually not sure what he does. He's massaging people every night, but he tells me he's team manager, so I'm not really sure where that stands. Whatever he does, he's vitally important to this group. He's a beautiful man. He's very funny. I'd say there's a fair language barrier between him and I. He knows about 10 words of English, and I know about 3 words of Hindi. But we get along.
what are those 3 words you've picked up?
There's a few more than 3, but a few bad ones actually.
Yeah,
but,
we don't say those things.
No, we don't. No,
Yeah.
unfortunately not. I just read them on a few guys' lips on the TV.
Yeah.
But there's just so many good people in this franchise, and there's no. Like, I don't just stick to hanging out with Salty. I can hang out with any of the 70 people that are here.
Yeah. And I think the amazing thing is while it can get, of course, intense with the cricket, it can also be very calm and very chill, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
But,
And it's important for players these days to have those times where they can just chill and hang out and be people.
You've been to India, of course, on international duty as well. And now your wife will also be joining you, albeit
Yes,
for a very
tonight.
brief while. Yes. Anything on your to-do list, things to do in India, which you may have not done on your previous visits?
It's her to-do list, not mine.
Yes.
Her and her mother will get out and about, maybe a few landmarks.
Yeah.
And then we go to Chennai. So we'll get out and about in Chennai. We'll do as much as we can there and hopefully eat some nice, beautiful Indian food and and see as much as we can.
While we're speaking about India, a lot of the cricketers, the overseas players, of course, have this to say about playing in India, basically how deafening it is in the stadium. You feel that the same way, maybe especially like an innings where you may have gotten out early and there's a fair bit of time that you have to sit in the dugout maybe, and behind you want to like just go like that at times? Yeah,
it can get very loud. There's no doubt that Indians are the most passionate cricket people in the world. Yeah, I mean, the noise is deafening. It's unexplainable to people back home for me. Loud crowd, whatever. But it's unexplainable, and it's part of what makes the IPL what it is.
What it is, 100%.
There's a good game of cricket's a good game of cricket, whether it's played in Australia, South Africa, England, India. But it's what comes with playing India, the bright lights, the fans. They're just on top of you. They ride every ball. They ride a dot ball. They ride a 6. Umpire calls a wide. They're screaming. The no ball siren comes on.
They also understand the game very, very well.
They understand the game very well.
Yeah.
The cricket knowledge is probably part of the whole why it's amazing, because every single person there knows every single rule.
Yeah.
They know more rules than me, which is probably a bit scary.
But there will be the World Cup, of course, here in India later this year. Do you want to make any early predictions for the World Cup?
Yep. Australia undefeated, defeating India. Australia 2 for 450 in the final. India all out 65.
We are getting very specific and not
Done.
cutting that. We'll check out in a few months' time. Mitch, thank you so much. But before we let you go, we're going to do a quick rapid fire because we're a T20 team. So we do quick.
All
right. Coaches then. Take your pick. Justin Langer or Ricky Ponting?
Oh, God. That's a controversial quick-fire question. I'll let that one go through to the keeper.
Okay, then. Next one. Wins. The most special one. Ashes or World Cups?
Ashes.
Okay. Where do you like to unwind? At a mountain or a beach?
Beach, for sure.
Yeah. The more animated of these two cricketers, David Warne or Rishabh Pant?
David Warne, 100%.
Mitch Marsh, the batter or the bowler?
I'd like to face my bowling.
Yeah?
So definitely Mitch Marsh, the batter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last one, play with Sean or play against Sean?
Definitely play with Sean. I've hated playing against him.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Mitch. It was wonderful speaking with you. I'm really sorry we didn't organize any coffee for you.
No
But
coffee, nothing.
Yeah, but
Disappointing.
you're not happy with the standards of coffee in Delhi anyway, so we have to work on that.
All right. No, thanks for having me, and thanks to all the Delhi fans that support us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.